why NRI watching this video should invest in India?
Yeah, I think there are multiple reasons to do so. I feel one is the rational logic, the returns are higher. So NRI by definition means non-resident Indian. When we mean NRI, any Indian that is living outside India. And in total, they have invested more than 30 crores. So over $4 million.
So hello everyone, today we have Hemant here, co-founder of iNRI. He is someone who is influencing a lot of NRIs to invest in India, and he is going to share the returns, pros of investing in India, especially in mutual funds, the legality behind it for all NRIs living in the US and worldwide outside India. So hi Hemant, can you please introduce yourself? Because he has recently raised enough money to value his startup at $15 million.
Hey, hi Arnu. Thank you for having me today. Really appreciate this opportunity. About me, I am the founder and CEO of iNRI. We have been building iNRI for over 2 years now, and I am excited to be building this for the NRI segment. Being an NRI myself, I am really excited to be doing this.
Amazing. So first of all, let's talk about your journey. So after IIT, you wanted to move to the US, and especially you have the tag of IIT as well as McKinsey, which is like a typical IIT dream of like a millennial. Pichli generation mein it was a big culture, going to IIT, then going to McKinsey, and then maybe getting a business degree. So can you break that down? What was your ambition before IIT and after IIT?
Yeah. So after IIT, having seen a lot of IITians do startups in the US and India, I was like always excited, can I build something? This was always my dream. And after coming out of IIT, I actually joined housing.com as a founding software engineer. This was in India. And I think this was a great opportunity for me to see, how founders build startups right from, day one. And I was fortunate to be joining this company at the age of 22. Most people, a lot of my friends joined big companies. I'm sure their experience would have been different, but, for me, it was really good to, joining a startup which was just starting up. So I spent 2 years there. And, like most IITians you have seen, they go to IIM. And also I happened to go to IIM Ahmedabad after that. And the reason for me to go there was, okay, I have an engineering skill that I can build, but how to sell, is that something different? And I thought, MBA would help me get that skill or, that quality that I can go for selling, right? And so was something I went for and spent 2 years there. And after that, I joined McKinsey in New York as a management consultant. So yeah, that was my kind of, move from India to the US.
So India, IIT, then IIM, and then IIM के बाद सीधा McKinsey. It seems like very straightforward. Like, एक typical Indian सोचेगा कि, just these tags are enough to get into McKinsey. So can you actually break down what skills and what mantra you followed to end up in the US and especially at McKinsey?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, this was a very non-trivial part, to be honest. Most IIM graduates end up in McKinsey, India. The route I took here, was something non-taken, for many of them. This happened because, there is a concept of exchange program in the IIM. When you go to IIM, you have an opportunity to go for an exchange into foreign universities. Most people now here choose for European universities because they want to have fun in their second year, chill, relax, after having spent, the first year really grinding into academics. And now here I was like, okay, let me take US here, try to, make that opportunity work for me by connecting, do networking in the US while I'm here. And this actually really worked for me. So during my time in my second year during the IMA program, I came to North Carolina, the UNC Ken Flagler Business School. And here I was, trying to learn, how things work in the US. I happened to connect with a lot of IIT and IMA alumni and, network with them and essentially get an opportunity to be part of McKinsey.
Oh, and how much the tag and, your IIM background helped you land there? Like, maybe it could be on-campus placement. Was it on campus?
No, this was lateral.
Lateral.
Yeah.
Lateral, what does lateral mean?
So lateral means like I did. So unlike in India, I mean unlike in India where you have placements,
Uh-huh.
you get companies come on day one and you kind of get placed. But in the US, you mostly have a career fair or networking. You try to network with alums, and maybe there are opportunities where you can get it through open positions, and that's how kind of you can make your way to the companies. So what I could do is like I could I happened to meet with a McKinsey partner who was an IMA alumni,
Uh-huh.
and he was hiring for his team, and I happened to be at the right time, right place, as well as with the right skills, and that's what got me in. Obviously, I went through the normal process, but me being in the in the networking zone where I was able to connect to someone higher up and then able to find a place there, that actually worked for me.
Okay. So being at McKinsey, New York now, at the right place, right time, what inspired you to do a startup?
Hmm. So, I mean, it's a long journey. After McKinsey, actually, like actually during my time at McKinsey, what I realized that I really like building products, and this is something that I was not really getting in McKinsey, to be honest, because McKinsey is about you engage with the client, you provide recommendations, you create PowerPoint presentations, you do your analysis, but ultimately you're not executing with the client, right? And this is what something I felt that to me was more important because during my time at housing.com, which was my first job, I was able to build products that could see the reality, reach customer ends. And so I wanted to go into that similar journey of building things, and I decided to leave McKinsey actually after a year.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yes, and this was a bold call, not just leaving McKinsey, but actually joining engineering after that. Now you would not know of many people who do MBAs and then go back to engineering.
So
So
that is really surprising. Okay, I want to know what was going on in your mind. Like, following a completely unconventional path. A typical Indian follows a roadmap. Like, it's a well written, very popular roadmap. IIT, MBA, and then McKinsey. Even after achieving that roadmap, now you were going against that roadmap.
yeah, I mean, I was trying to just follow my heart, to be honest. Like, I was like, this is not something that I really enjoy. I mean, I do, but, not for the long term. Yeah, definitely I had a great time at McKinsey, meeting people, building my skills, finishing myself, traveling a lot. But at the end of the day, what really, I think, guys, my satisfaction is trying to build products and, uh, build essentially for the end user. And I think that was something that I could see that I would not be able to do so if I continue to stay there.
Mm. What was your financial journey at the time? What was going behind the scene financially? Like, were you happy financially, or go to engineering
Yeah,
was motivated due to financial reasons?
nothing financial, to be honest. I mean, I had a decent savings, and I was not afraid to take this plunge because like it would be hard to get a job. I think one thing I realized in the US that engineering actually is more cooler than MBA, to be honest, because I feel there is a big tech companies of, right? I mean, there's a lot of innovation happening in tech, so I thought that being in tech actually has more value compared to continue to stay in business, and build more products and so on. So I think financially it was nothing that really motivated me to kind of make this jump, but more something that what I wanted to really do.
Okay, you started to do engineering in a company after McKinsey. Okay, so
Yes.
you did like consulting and you started doing engineering.
Yeah, yeah. So I joined a startup called Eloki. This was based in New York, and later, actually, a few months down, they got acquired by Walmart. And this startup was about women accessories and apparel. It was basically an e-commerce website trying to sell to a very specific niche of audience, which was plus size women. Uh, and I think my goal here when I joined was that I could see a team which was very small, and I saw that as an opportunity to build myself starting from scratch, which I actually loved at housing.com. So I got this opportunity, and I thought this would be a cool way to continue. So as I was doing this, I was in this startup after McKinsey. Slowly, what I realized that, I liked doing side projects, and something I was looking on, trying to do more out of my day job, maybe on weekends and weeknights. What I came across is something is always has been of interest of me is dealing in financial markets. So when I turned 18, this was long ago, I actually got my Demat account. So my father, got me this account, and I had started trading then. But as I went to IIT and then after IIM, I didn't had that time. But then I realized, now I have some more time at hand. What could I do here? And what got me interested is options trading. And options is basically complex products which are traded on exchange and generally based on a stock or an index. And the exciting part about this was quite mathematical. So if you were to go more deeper into options, you will realize that there's a lot of mathematics that go on, and a lot of complication, which actually excited me. Being a geek myself, I was like, okay, now this is something I want to look into, and something can I also do it on my side without having to let's say work with someone. I mean, basically more like a solo runner here. And the day, the how I started on this is basically, you would know of Zerodha. Do you know
Ji.
of Zerodha? Yeah. So Zerodha offers API, where you can build on top of it and actually build an algo solution that automatically trades with the market. So my initial objective here was, okay, I have a certain capital that I want to trade on, and I would build this project basis that. And that was the beginning of this side project that evolved into building iNRI as we got today. But this was the inception of something that I started on myself, which gave me the confidence ultimately to join full time as an entrepreneur.
But why now? Like, why not right after McKinsey? Why after quitting McKinsey, then working in engineering at a startup, and then doing your own startup?
I mean, I needed some kind of cushion, to be honest. Like the life of an immigrant in the U.S. It's not easy. You need to have built up a certain capital, and also apart from that, there is this immigration challenge, right? So as I was working here, I was on H-1B. Now that how rules can be hard, and maybe you cannot even like you cannot start on your own if you have H-1B. You are limited to an employer, whereby you can only work for them, right? And this breakthrough happened, kind of when I got married, as well as at the same time I applied to Y Combinator. So this was a breakthrough for me, and a sense of confidence, as well as the sense of kind of courage that got me to kind of leave my job and begin this full time.
Okay. So, and now coming back to the product. So you said that you were building from Zerodha's API. So Zerodha makes it easier. It has a stable API, so you can build more apps on it. So you are now building iNRI. Is it also on top of Zerodha's API?
No. So what I was building then was a trading platform for myself. So I was thinking like, okay, let me have this side project, trying to maybe increase my capital and manage my finances in India by options trading. But as I got into entrepreneurship full time and I got into Y Combinator, we pivoted to building iNRI, which has a higher level or a different focus here, where we are focusing on the NRIs living around the world and making that a seamless platform for them to invest in India.
Okay. So how this platform is built? Can you break it down? Because in your YC journey, you pivoted as well.
Yeah. So iNRI essentially is a certified mutual fund distributor. So we have an India company who has a legal license to distribute mutual funds, which are generally available for Indian residents and can be also invested by NRIs. So essentially having this license, authorizes us to sell these funds on the platform. So you can imagine iNRI as a grow for NRI, right? But grow might not be, targeting this interesting segment and generally focusing on India, but we are doing the other part here.
Okay. And like, lot of people in India invest in US because they think कि US stocks are giving better returns. So
Yeah.
can you give us the mathematical breakdown of why NRI watching this video should invest in India?
Yeah. I think there are multiple reasons to do so. I feel one is the rational logic, the returns are higher. Now, returns, as a function of many years, a lot of people, when they think about the past 10 years, yes, US market has done well. If you had to invest both in India and US market would have done good. Now, but if you zoom out, let's say look at 20 years now, right? So in this case, India has returned over 13x, 13x, 1300 times, whereas S&P has returned 400 times, so 4x. Now, now you would also want to consider, what is the change in US dollar INR depreciation, because a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of customers and they wonder, like what is the depreciation here? And one thing is like dollar has appreciated and it's twice as stronger as the INR. Now, so if you were to even calculate, adjust for that, returns from India are still higher, and they are likely also to be, given India is a more developing economy. So the higher growth is likely to come even in future years.
Yeah, because numbers wise we hum padhte hain, right? Growth पे like mutual funds returns are like 20%, 25%.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, S&P 500, it gives around 11%. After inflation, around 7-8%. And India may, after inflation, but India has inflation of 10%, right? US has inflation of average 2%. Even then you think it's higher returns.
So inflation is, I think, would be around 7 to 8%. Obviously, in different years, it could be higher or lower, but generally it's around 7 to 8%. So effectively, S&P gives you 8% returns, on average, and India could give you about 15% or more.
That is very impressive. Totally, I agree. So basically, you said 1,300 returns over how many years?
20 years.
20 years. So 20 years may, if like India has given 1,300, on the other hand, US has given 400. If you consider the depreciation, like dollar changing from 40 to 80, if you consider like making it half,
Yeah.
so even then India is above it.
Yes.
So what is stopping NRIs to invest? Like why they need iNRI platform to invest? Why they were not investing before?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting question, and I feel, this is not yet solved by most platforms that exist. And the reason is that, a lot of the processes, let's say, when it comes to onboarding, is very physical in nature. For a typical NRI, he or she is living outside India, wanting to do, let's say, as easy as KYC, right? It's extremely difficult. Either you have to be in India or you have to send documents to India. For example, let's say opening a demat account, even with Zerodha or, bigger banks, you need to send documents to India. And now this process is so cumbersome, a lot of NRIs would rather drop off or give up during the process rather than, completing it. Even after, let's say you get a demat account, managing the compliance is also harder. And then this is about stocks, but even the same is true for mutual funds. And a lot of these platforms additionally do not provide the right support and service. If you happen to call them, either they are not informed or, they require you to do more work compared to them helping you out to, get the process done. So I think the curation is missing here. The focus from a platform perspective is missing here. Partially because, the cost to do this service is quite high, because someone, let's say, living in the US, trying to invest from here, and the bank or the platform trying to help them out will have a higher cost of serving this customer.
Interesting. But at the same time, here the big challenge is about taxation. US has double taxation rules. Like if you are in India, have mutual funds invested, you have more than $10,000 in India, then you pay taxes in India as well as in US. That's what I've heard. Can you break that down?
Yeah. So when you talk about double taxation, essentially India and US is a double tax avoidance agreement. It's called DTA. Now what that means is that you can get a tax credit if you pay taxes in India. So you can claim that tax as a credit in the US when you file your US taxes. Now, US requires you to report global income and global assets. So, for example, you're talking about $10,000. So that is where F bar comes in, where it states that if you have more than $10,000 of assets, you need to report this to the IRS when you file your US taxes. Now, this is where it gets complicated, and where people think, hey, hi, would I need to file or pay double taxes? But you don't need to, because if you have paid taxes in India, then you can get that credit in the US and pay the excess tax that is applicable. So it's not double tax. You're just paying the highest of the tax, whatever is applicable in either country, which is likely gonna be the US because you are here.
Okay. And because you have mutual funds in India, you'll obviously pay taxes in India. Even if you sell it, you pay capital gain taxes in India.
Yeah.
So since you have already paid the taxes in India, you do not pay in the US because of this treaty. Okay.
But you may have to pay the excess tax. So, for example, India has, let's say, 15% tax, and the tax in US is 25%. So you pay the 15% tax in India, but then you have to pay the additional 10%, which is applicable in the US because US is charging tax at the rate of 25%. So you will have to pay the 10% here, and also claim that 15% as a tax credit, so that you are paying the 10%.
How 25%? I thought capital gains tax in the US is 20%.
No, I'm just giving an example, like
see.
that you have to pay the excess amount.
Okay.
So in this case, I mean, if you were to go by real numbers, let's say it's like 5%.
5%. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. And let's narrow it down even further, right? NRI is a very vague definition. Some people could be US citizens, some people could be Canadian citizens, some people could be Indian citizens outside.
Yeah.
So define an NRI.
Yeah. So NRI by definition means non-resident Indian. When we mean NRI, any Indian that is living outside India. So for us as a customer, when I mean NRI, it's also an immigrant who has an Indian passport, but then also a US citizen, but who's an Indian by nature, may have an OCI because they have, some kind of India relation or basically an origin from India. So we also serve them. So NRIs and OCIs, they kind of come under the same umbrella, which is basically, a non-resident Indian.
So like for India and NRI point of view, there's no difference between any Indian citizen outside India for, I think the rule is like more than 6 months in a year,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So, and versus a US citizen on OCI outside India. So both are basically same for NRI investment point of view.
That is true. I mean, there is a certain level of documentation which might be different. For example, if you are a US citizen, then you need to provide a OCI as well. But from an investment perspective, both are same.
Okay. Now, this investment opportunity, like what is the difference between an NRI now going to India with the Indian bank account and then investing into mutual funds versus using an iNRI?
So I think the key value proposition for iNRI is that you have an online KYC process. We provide this completely digital service where you can upload your documentation and then do the KYC right on the platform. So you don't need to send documents to India or be there. We help do this process in just a week. And this is a key blocker for a lot of NRIs because unless you are eligible to invest, how would you do so? And so we solve the first step of investment or onboarding. And in addition to that, we also are building an AI tool where we can offer you a good portfolio suggestion. For example, one thing that I've come across with customers is like, okay, they have been living outside India for a long time. Now, do you really know like what's happening in India? I mean, like, in terms of what stocks are moving, what funds are good, right? So there is this question of stock selection or fund selection, right? Like which fund should you invest in? And that is where also iNRI helps you with smart portfolio suggestions. Now, another reason I would say to use iNRI is cross-border taxation, and which is, I think, also a very important thing. Now, how iNRI outshines here, from other platforms is we provide a holistic support in terms of taxation. For example, Now that you have invested, now you're required to report, let's say, this foreign income or capital gains, in the US or in UK, wherever you are. So we have partnered with local CPAs. For example, in case of US, we partnered with CPAs and enrolled agents where they can help you file your US taxes, and also partnering with CAs from India at the same time to help you file in India as well. So when you join iNRI as a customer, you are taken care of from end to end, right? From onboarding to investment, and then finally even compliance as a product.
Okay. So I think the biggest reason NRIs don't want to do the paperwork is hiring a CA in India as well as US. And in US, they need a special CPA who understands double taxation rules, especially from India point of view. So it becomes complicated on both sides. But now you come unique because you handle end-to-end problem.
Yes.
And especially like selection of stocks, you help them have the best mutual fund selected, stock selected, and that's like everything is ready for an NRI to choose from. So
Yes.
here the question comes is how much percentage of cut you take? Like what is the business market here? Because you got into YC. So how you plan to be profitable here? I think it's not a very capital intensive business, right?
Yeah. So essentially, our business model lies around providing regular mutual funds. So there are two kinds of mutual funds. One is direct and one is regular. So any mutual funds, whether when sold through a distributor, there is an extra commission that is earned by the broker, which is basically us in this flow. And that is how we make money from the investments that any customer that is making through iNRI. In addition, we are providing these additional services, let's say taxation, or maybe investment advisory, and those are other areas of revenue that is attributed to the platform. So that is how we make money.
So basically, like direct mutual fund, like you go to UTI's website, right? UTI mutual fund, you buy from there. And other is regular or like distributor. So you're a distributor for, let's say, UTI mutual fund. So you
Yeah.
take cut from that, and
Yeah.
you take because of taxation.
Yeah.
Okay, so both sides. And in this journey, like the path through profitable, like why you need funding to run this business versus like running it bootstrap? Because it seems like people put money into you, so why you need funding in this process?
So I think this is just the start of what we are offering today, and I think there's more to offer. And when I mean that is our vision is to not just build an investment platform. Our vision is to build a one-stop financial platform for NRIs. And what that means is because what we see is, there's not just investment which is broken, but there are a lot of other things that can be solved for, let's say payments, remittances, banking, insurance, right? So a lot of these services can be provided under the same umbrella. Imagine, iNRI becoming a super app for NRIs, right? This is our grand vision in the next 5 to 10 years. And that is to achieve that, we think, we'll need more resources over time. And this is why, we just need to build faster.
Amazing. Now, how many people have invested using iNRI already?
Yeah. So today, we started in March 2023. And since then, we have over 11,000 signups from 40 plus countries. And number of customers are around 600. And in total, they have invested more than 30 crores. So over $4 million have been invested through the platform in this period of, roughly 18 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. And final question for all the NRIs watching: if someone invests in Indian market through iNRI and invest in mutual funds, is there an exit strategy to have? Like they, let's say, want funds back in the US. Another big challenge a lot of immigrants face is like India may like the 7 lakh rupees
Yeah.
limit. Like uske upar you have to pay TDS of 20%. So a lot of NRIs think that if they send money to India, then 20% to bring it back. So a lot of things they have to think about. Can you break that down as well?
Yeah. So what essentially, we are referring to here is repatriation, where basically you have some funds in India and now you want to repatriate, or, take that money back to your foreign country. Now, this is, I think somewhat of a misunderstanding where NRIs don't come under the scheme of LRS. So if you have your own money being repatriated, so
What is
LRS,
LRA?
so you're talking about the TDS, right? And that is basically
TCS, yeah. TDS,
TCS,
TCS.
yeah. So that is exactly the liberalized remittance scheme where it states that you have to pay this 20% tax when you remit money outside India. Now, NRIs don't come under this rule actually. It is only applicable for resident Indians when they are sending money, to a foreign country. So if you are moving your own money, then this rule does not apply to you. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's why NRI should create an NRO or NRE account, right? In
Yes.
this case,
Yes.
one
Exactly.
of those.
Yes, so that is the most compliant way to put your money into India and then get back the money. Because if you are gonna use your resident savings account, or let's say you invest through your dad, now if you cannot send the money to them, then that's now their money, and which is in a resident Indian saving account. And if they were to send you back, then that would now attract that tax which is applicable to a resident Indian. So what is the right way to do it is basically have an NRE NRO account and then invest, or move from there your finance.
What do you recommend? What do you recommend to your clients, like getting NRE or NRO account?
So both accounts serve different purpose. Like NRE is to let's say take funds from your foreign country. NRO is something that, let's say, if you are receiving some rental income, or let's say if you sold a property in India, so that money will come back to NRO. So depending on where you have the capital and you want to invest from, you could invest from either of them or both of them. So I think the general recommendation would be like, if you are moving funds from the US, use an NRE account, and if you have already money in India that is lying in NRO, then you could use an NRO account.
Okay, what do they stand for? NRE versus NRO?
So NRE is non-resident external, and NRO is non-resident ordinary.
Ordinary. So if you want to move money outside of India to US, then NRO. Then if you want to import to India, then NRE. And can you have both at the same time? So
Yes,
that
yes.
because
Yeah, you can have both at the same time, and depending on where the money is coming from, you choose to use either of those accounts.
okay, very interesting. And so the whole system, the ecosystem, if someone NRI watching this wants to invest in India, they first have to join INRI, of course, and along with that, have either NRE or NRO account, and then the ecosystem is complete.
Yes, that's right. In fact, as you're talking about NRE and NRO, we have come across a lot of these, questions around, what does this mean? What does that mean? In fact, a lot of people don't have the necessary documentation. And to address that, we have partnered with banks where, if you don't have an NRE, NRO bank account, then we also help you open one through our partner banks.
So now let's get to know the business a little bit more, how you built it. So can you share what skills you think were important to create it? How big is the team? What helped you reach this far?
Yeah. So in terms of the team, we are a team of 4 people, very lean, very intentionally too. As you said, it's not a capital intensive business. So we are a team of 4, including myself. So I'm based in the US. My team is based in India. In terms of skills, what it takes to build this, I think, attention to detail, and also as a passion to learn from, our users. Because what we see is, like each NRI is kind of different. We serve NRIs around the world, and what that means is to understand their problems and, going into the details so that we are able to solve that unlike any other platform, right? And are able to differentiate that. So a passion to understand the customer problems, and then also at the same time navigating the regulations, and then the fine print, what it requires to get this license or that license, is important. And obviously the tech which comes as part of it. But I think these 2 parts are unique to solving this problem.
And how difficult was it for you to get funded and getting YC acceptance? Because I think there are so many founders who struggle even like applying 6 times to YC and they never get in. And you got in the first time, right?
No, so I got in the third time,
Oh,
and this has also been a journey. I mean, I applied for the first time, I got an interview. This was very surprising to me because I never thought, and this was when I applied with that project. I was talking about options trading, and I got the interview. I was on H1B, And to be honest, as any immigrant, I was not sure if I were to leave my job and join YC, what does that mean in terms of my status? And I could not join then because I had a timeline of, when I would join next in terms of, if how can I basically sort my immigration. And I applied for the second time. This time I had left my job. I took that leap of faith in terms of okay, let me start this full time. I got on H4 as a dependent spouse. A lot of people do that. I know many spouses starting out, and this is how I also thought I could do so. Second time applied, this time I did not get in, and third time I think it's a charm. So third time we applied and I got in. So this was my journey, applying 3 times and getting it there.
And you applied as a solo founder.
No, so interestingly, I applied with the founder, but each time I applied, I had a different co-founder. Yeah. So this was
So why is that, and how?
So the reason I had a different co-founder because the project I talked about in option trading. This was something I was building solo for about 2 to 3 years, and so when I wanted to apply, I needed a co-founder, and obviously looked at my friends, whoever was interested to kind of loop in with myself. I got one, but each time because this is what I think maybe differentiates me with them is in a way where I was like very hell bent on like okay I think I can make it, while compared to them like okay let's try this out. If it doesn't work maybe I will continue to go back doing what I want to do myself. And I think what happened is the first 2 applications, it didn't work out with them because they were in there unless they got in, right? So they applied with me, but it was kind of on a criteria, okay, if we got in, then they are there. And the third time, I had my batchmate from Ahmedabad who joined me in my application, and then we got in together.
So which city you're living in right now after YC?
Yeah, so I live in Sunnyvale in the South Bay of San Francisco in California.
So why every YC founder lives in San Francisco, and how is it like?
I think like San Francisco, as you know of, is like a Silicon Valley of the United States, and there's a lot of innovation here. So definitely makes sense to be here. To meet people who are like minded and building together and build a community. To be honest, and that's why I think YC also chose to be here. And I had a great time when I was here, and fortunately, so I used to live in New York before. But then when I got into YC, I moved here and could, actually feel that difference.
Oh, nice. So what is something in YC? Describe the YC program. How is it like, and how it helped you in your future funding rounds?
So I think YC is like a brand. Basically, if you go to Harvard, right, you can always say that you went to Harvard for the rest of your life, right? And it obviously gives you, some sense of obviously a confidence among yourself, but to others, it gives you others, it says that it talks about you, right? How accomplished you might be, or what the potential that you may have. And similarly, for that is true for any YC company. So because YC has a strong process of getting in, once you're into YC, people think of you as you have that potential to maybe become Airbnb or Stripe one day, right? And all these founders are really kind of vetted through. So definitely the brand has been helping me to obviously get through, but additionally to what I've been doing before, also the experience kind of helped me into raising more funds.
And you had three months of classes, right? Or you call it like semester?
Yeah,
I see.
So YC is like is like a crash course. It's more like a a summer program you can think of where you kind of work closely with the batch for 3 months, and after that there is a demo day where you present your startup and kind of look for more funding.
And how do you hire in the process? You hire some people in the US, India. Like, what is the criteria you follow?
Yeah. So criteria, essentially has to be that they must be willing to work in a ambiguous environment. because startup is, is a kind of really a maze. I feel like, it's not clear at a very early stage, what are you building. You're mostly experimenting it with stuff, you're trying to see what sticks. And as you see more signal into it, you kind of build more into that direction. So as a founder, you are definitely, comfortable or become comfortable with it. But when you're looking for employees, you're looking also for like-minded people, those who are, comfortable with that ambiguity, able to move with that speed, and, not really bogged down by, a pay also. Like I think, startups require to work harder at a lesser pay. And that's why you need these motivated people to, really work at an early stage startup.
The biggest pattern I've seen is of Indian YC founders is like all the engineers are in India, and like they travel back and forth to India as well regularly. And what is the hardest part of this?
So, hardest part, I think, I mean, managing a team in India could be hard because of the time zone difference. But I think I've come to terms with it over time. Like so, my engineer, like I have a engineer working for us. He's based out of India, but I think
Bangalore?
so no, he's based out of Gurgaon,
Uh-huh.
and so he works remote. But I think ultimately, when your team is remote, what is more important is their commitment and accountability, and the ownership that comes as part of it. So as long as you have that instilled in them, and they are kind of ready to do that, you can be at peace. But things are definitely harder to manage. But I think I am fortunate to have this team, who I feel are really committed to be building iNRI.
And share the brutally honest side. I saw a tweet that a person reflecting who quits big tech and says कि अब free coffee भी नहीं मिलती YC में accept होने के बाद, even though he has 500K in bank, but
Yeah.
he still misses the free coffee he used to get in big tech. So what are the things you miss after quitting your McKinsey job to build a startup?
So, I mean, yeah, definitely, big companies have these big perks, where, you cannot obviously get it in startups. Uh, and I do miss them sometimes, but I think I've had enough of it to, be happy with the memories and not really worry about that I'm not having today. But I think they can be, something that people really value. And obviously are valuable. But, when you go into the startup route, you kind of have to become like a monk at the end of the day and be, happy with the simple things and not really worry about, the cool bugs that all these companies offer.
So what's next for you? What are the goals you have at iNRI, and what can people hope in the next few months?
Yeah. So our target next year is reaching, 100 crores in assets under management. Right now we are at 30. So we're really looking to get that 100 crore mark very soon, hopefully in the next 6 months. In addition to that, we are also committed to be building more products in the iNRI ecosystem. So right now we are offering mutual funds. We just started with investing into Indian startups, and there are more products lined up that offer you to invest in India through multiple asset classes. So as I said, mutual funds is one asset class, but then if you have more of them, essentially we become that trusted gateway to invest in India into, through different means. Um, we are also looking at taxation as a product, where we understand, as I was talking about, cross-border compliance is an important topic. And, every NRI, when they're thinking of investing, they also think of this. And to address that, we're looking at, can we provide a complete tax solution, let's say starting with the US NRI, because US tax season is coming. So, something that is already also brewing on our end is to build a complete holistic solution for this.
Exceptional. So you're building like a super app platform in which like you can talk to the CPA in US, India, and all in one platform. So currently it's separate, you're saying?
No, I mean, it's on the same platform. So what we have today is a marketplace right now, which is more like a lightweight solution. Okay, you can see CPAs listed on the platform and you can connect with them. What we are thinking, like, can we become, let's say, a TurboTax for NRIs, right? Where upload your W2, 1099, and we can take from there and then, file it for you.
Okay. Currently, you have enlisted CPAs. You want to make it completely end to end in one platform. Yeah, just like TurboTax, you upload your tax documents
Yeah.
and they handle. Okay,
Yes.
got it. And what? So, since a lot of people watching this video are engineers, so can you share how you plan to scale? Like to scale to more customers, do you need more engineers? And how many engineers you plan to hire?
Yeah, I think more than engineers, I feel we need to, spread a word about INRI. To be honest, like I think maybe I'm looking for one more engineer, maybe on the ML side, but more importantly, I want to reach more NRIs, and I think the difficult part here is that NRIs are spread around the world, in the two different pockets, right? How to reach them is not a trivial job, and in fact, this is the core problem that we are trying to solve from a growth perspective.
Uh-huh.
uh, and the some of the things that we have tried so far is like actually meeting NRIs where they are. So for example, I have personally done 25 in-person meetups in the last 1 year. So I've traveled across the US, Canada, Singapore, and last and recently to UAE in Dubai. So this is our attempt to actually meet them in person and actually spread a word about the platform and its products.
So for you, marketing is a bigger problem than engineering problem right now, right?
Yeah, let's say it that way.
So how big is the marketing team?
So it's just two, including me. I am the chief marketer, and I think the approach that we are taking here is a more of a founder-led sales, or a founder-led platform where I am trying to be the face of the company, talking about the problems NRI have, talking about my own problems as an NRI, having lived in the US for more than 7 years now, and then building a community of NRIs around it. In fact, we have a WhatsApp group or a WhatsApp community that has more than 1,000 NRIs from around the world. They're a part of it, and with a very active group in that.
Oh, and who have been your biggest inspirations in your journey? Like books, people who helped you and inspired you to build a startup.
Yeah. Well, I think biggest inspiration has been my family, my wife. Have as you understand, like being in the US is very hard, and especially all this immigration challenge around you. So I think this is where my wife has really held, or had my back in terms of inspiring me, motivating me, my family, my parents, and then obviously my friends. Uh, so I think I feel a lot of my motivation comes from, or my inspiration comes from my people around me, and then now obviously the NRIs and my customers also inspire me to build this further.
Awesome. And most importantly, like you had a very unconventional journey, special thanks to your wife as well. You were able to pursue from like H1B to H4 and then now to O1, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very unconventional route. And now you are planning to, you already got your O1 or no?
Yes, yes. I had my one last year.
Oh, nice. So now you're planning to get EB1A and then finally green card.
Yes, yes. So I'm just in the process of applying for AB1, and hopefully, just waiting for the approval, hopefully coming soon. And then, yes, then to next is green card.
And even with O1, it's extremely slow, right? I just saw the tweet of Perplexity's CEO. He said that even though he's building it for 2 years, he still doesn't have his green card yet.
Yeah.
So, what is the biggest challenge in immigration point of view for you?
I think the bigger challenge is like a lot of Indians apply for a green card. If you know of let's say if you were to go from the conventional route, if you go like through the EB2 or EB3, you have essentially a waiting time of 10 plus years, 15 plus years, right? But now there is a lot of crowding even happening in the EB1 space, especially for Indians, because this is just too much demand in terms of getting a green card, and that also now the priority date for EB1 is, I think, dates back to more than 3 years now. So that is what is causing a further extension in terms of time to get that green card, even for the top entrepreneurs like the Perplexity CEO.
Got it. So
Yeah.
in this journey, what I've learned is, you had passion of building, but I really want to ask you, what is something you were deeply obsessed over that gave you the burning desire to build, even after getting rejected 2 times at YC,
Yeah.
never giving up? What is something you were so obsessed over?
Yeah, I think what really motivates in to me internally is building something on my own. I think uh, I have worked in Facebook, I worked in McKinsey, some of these good companies. But what really, I think, at the end of the day, what drives me home is um, like something that I'm building on myself, like not through a company, but more something that I am the leader here, I am taking the decisions. And I think this is what also I really love at, building right now, is where I am so in much charge of doing things, right? I have so much decision making power, and ultimately that creates that impact, when I'm ultimately reaching my customers and, building further on top of it. So I always wanted to be in that position, feel that energy, as well as, uh, at the same time, the power to do so. I think that really motivates me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hemant. It was very, very informative. It was wonderful talking to you. And anyone watching who wants to get started with iNRI can check out the link in description and get started. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arno.